Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulullah. We continue reading from Imam Al-Ghazali's Jawahir al-Quran wa Durr, the jewels of the Quran and its spells. These are a reminder every now and then. These are selections that Imam Ghazali selected from the Quran. Two parts of the book. One part are the jewels and one part are the pearls. And in this particular session, we will be reading the Imam Ghazali selection, verses 146 to 149. But if we read directly 146, it begins with an exemption, except those who repent. That's how it starts. Then there's need to cover a little bit uh, before this verse to understand who is in this group, who are those who need to repent, and why. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إلا الذين تابوا وأصلحوا واعتصموا بالله وأخلصوا دينهم لله فأولئك مع المؤمنين وسوف يؤتي الله المؤمنين أجرا عظيما except those who repent, mend their ways, hold fast to Allah and are sincere in their devotion to Allah. They will be with the believers and Allah will grant the believers a great reward. The verse immediately before that, إن المنافقين في الدرك الأسفل من النار ولن تجد لهم نصيرا. Surely the hypocrites will be in the lowest depths of the fire, and you'll never find for them any helper. No one will render them help in any way. What do the hypocrites do? There is a verse that says, torn between belief and disbelief, belonging neither to these nor to those, neither to these believers nor to those disbelievers. مذبذبين بين ذلك لا إلى هؤلاء ولا إلى هؤلاء. Neither believers in the true sense nor disbelievers, and whoever Allah leaves to stray, you will never find for them a way. ومن يضلل الله فلن تجد له سبيلا. And it is followed by a warning. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا الكافرين أولياء من دون المؤمنين أتريدون أن تجعلوا الله عليكم سلطانا مبينا. O believers, do not take disbelievers as allies instead of the believers. Would you like to give Allah solid proof against yourselves? It will be used against you, you'll be punished. This wilaya is taking the disbelievers. It could be the even the polytheists originally, but also there are direct verses. This wilaya is about alliance against other believers, against other Muslims. This is not like the alliance for civilizations, whereby you are pushing against World War III, you are pushing against conflicts, you are pushing against the an unjust world order that is in existence, at least for most of the 20th century and up till now, pushing against the colonial heritage, pushing against the a Eurocentric worldview that continues to usurp the third world. So for us, it is this kind of alliance that we will be used against other believers, that we will support war against other believers, one should not look at the nation state as the ultimate paradigm. One should advocate for unity without being naive. It's uh, it's not a easy. It's not an easy task. But look at Europe, World War One, World War Two, and then they decided this is it. No more wars between all these members of the European Union. It began as a common market, limited in the number of the states, limited in the number of goods, steel, coal, and today they have their own, the union, one parliament, and it speaks volumes. One particular verse before verse 146, of course, it's already, or 40, yes, there is a verse 137. Muslims are invited. Imam Ghazali did not select this, probably uh, the Muslims are invited to, this is 135, sorry, they are invited to stand firm for justice as witnesses for Allah, even if it is against yourselves, your parents, or close relatives. But here in this context, since we talk about alliances, also witness against, if we are invited to be witnesses against our own selves, that this is really the right thing to do. If your own parents, think about the people who became Muslims and their own relatives, their own parents were still polytheists at the very beginning of Islam, and it could take place today. So all believers stand firm for justice as witnesses for Allah. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله. Yes. One should not follow one's person desire, that one's desire should not cause her to deviate from justice. Something that is being sacrificed today. World leaders, think tanks, academic programs, conferences, workshops, etc., policies, they talk about security, and they are not willing to address the root causes uh, of what's going on. And unless we talk about the injustice, so standing firm for justice means also, by definition, to address the injustices. So we need truth and justice as prerequisites for security, for a healthy society, but for a healthy world order. At this is the larger picture, of course. So those who deviate, those who follow their own desires, those who align themselves with non-Muslims. This is not about uh, not being good to your neighbor. For example, people of the book, in a normal, healthy society where there is no colonialism, there is no war, there are no massacres that are committed. One should not be naive to think that if we have uh, people of the book occupying our lands, and to think that this is that the verses in Surah Al-Ma'idah apply to them when we talk about the food of the food, the food of the people of the book is lawful for you, and your food is lawful for them. This is about sharing a meal with people who are confiscating our land and killing our children and destroying our um, habitat and social relations, a healthy social fabric. This is not against, these verses are not against such healthy society. It's about, as I said earlier, alliances that could be detrimental, that could be used against, like military alliances that are used against our own brothers and sisters. This should never be the case. Our Ummah is one, our God is one, the Qur'an is one, the Prophet of this Ummah, though we believe in all the other prophets and messengers, is one, the message is one, and even one should really work very hard on bringing these historical sects. I'm talking about the Islamic sects. They should be invited to rethink the historical reasons why they departed from the main, without forcing them to change, but simply to think about the historical um, events that they could have interpreted them 1300 years ago or even 1400 years ago, and that there should be no contemporary animosity between us as Muslims. When we talk about uh, civilizational dialogue, convivencia, civilization alliances, interfaith dialogue, highlighting shared values, primarily the believing in the oneness of God and being good to one's neighbor, the golden rule. But also it should apply to us. Europe, long time ago, decided that no more wars between the Catholics and the Protestants, and that's not the whole picture. France at the time did not side with the Catholics, um, but in Osnabrück in Germany, all these parties signed uh, what could be described the end to religious wars. So back to 146. Now we understand the the exception. Those who do not want to be punished, then what should they do? Except those who repent, mend their ways, hold fast to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and are sincere in their devotion to Allah. Their whole religion, sincerity, they will be with the believers, and Allah will grant the believers a great reward. Why should Allah punish you if you are grateful and faithful? Allah is ever appreciative, all knowing. ما يفعل الله بعذابكم إن شكرتم وآمنتم وكان الله شاكرا عليما. If you are thankful, you are thankful for yourself. If you are thankful, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will increase you in terms of reward and all the good things that you can think about. In fact, few people, the few, will be thankful. In the Quran, this is why someone was making a supplication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make him amongst the few, because it says qalil. Those who are thankful are qalil. amongst the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He wants to be thankful. And in fact, if you think about what we have, yes, there are calamities, there are tribulations, there are so many bad things that are going in the world today, destroying the environment, the disparity between the North and the South by design, and unjust and undemocratic uh, UN Security Council because of the veto right, allowing allowing people to suffer. There is a need, of course, for international law. Otherwise, it's going to be wars and conflicts. And the difference between today and yesterday is that today there are so many. It's very easy to, it seems, to manufacture weapons that travel far and wide. Allah does not like negative thoughts to be voiced except by those who have been wronged. Allah is all hearing, all knowing. Those who don't talk behind people's back, you are entitled to raise the issue, for example, to those in authority. This, though it is not immediately, uh, the text does not address this issue directly, but say that you go to the judge in the court and you would like to complain, you seek, you would like your rights to be given back to you. In this case, you are entitled to speak to the judge. This is not backbiting. One is invited to forgive, but all in all, but you don't exceed. You don't exceed. The problem is if one exceeds the something. For example, I'm going to give an example. Someone hits your car, and let's say that something small is broken, and you are entitled to say that you are entitled literally to compensation. It's your right. Ask politely. It could be the insurance, but it could be directly paid by the person who caused the accident. You could forgive, but you have the right. You are entitled to compensation. Don't make it a personal issue. Don't insult. Do not. If there is, if the other person, if you exchange phones and later on the other person does not fulfill, let's say, his obligations towards you, you have suffered. You have been wronged, uh, and it's your right to speak in public. But it doesn't mean that um, you make it. Don't cross the line by uh, cursing, for example. And there is something that I think Al Hassan Basri mentioned. Uh, he said, he mentioned something about this, about إلا من ظلم, except those who have been wronged. He said, لا يدعو عليه, he should not make a supplication against the person who wronged him. And simply he should say, وليقل اللهم أعني عليه واستخرج حقي منه. He should ask God to help him against the person who wronged him and to help him get his right back. And it seems that there is another version where one is still entitled to make a supplication, but without, again, uh, without crossing the line that he knows where he should stop. In fact, people might be surprised that in the discussion of this verse in Tafsir ibn Kathir, you are entitled to hospitality. It's your right. And if hospitality is not accorded to you, if you are not, if your host does not, provide the usual hospitality, it seems that it is considered you have been wronged, and you have the right to that hospitality. Some people might not understand this, but this is one of the most beautiful traits that the Arabs continued to maintain from before and after Islam. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. إن تبدوا خيرا أو تخفوه أو تعفو عن سوء فإن الله كان عفوا قديرا. Whether you reveal or conceal a good or pardon an evil, surely Allah is ever pardoning, most capable. So when you do something good, it could be in public, it could be done discreetly. Pardoning an evil, that of course you have been wronged, but you will forgive. Remember two things here in this verse. The first one, it's preferable to give charity discreetly, especially when it is to individuals, because it might hurt them. And this is why I hope that the charities would stop filming children and people in need to promote their work. They should find something else, a different way. If it's really to institutions, then you could, in principle, you could basically make a donation in public. But it's better if it's done discreetly, for your own sake, for your own heart, because you don't want your ego to feed on the public act. Now, forgiving, أو تعفو عن سوء, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is forgiving, is oft forgiving, ever pardoning. وَالْقَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Those who suppress their anger when they are wronged. So that's really something good, sublime. In a moment of when people suppress your anger, doesn't mean the Quran does not require you not to have not. You will be upset if somebody hits your car. You'll be upset. Number two is that you forgive. وَالْقَاضِمِينَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ. You just simply forgive. Number three, وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. And I will, since we have reached the end of our selection, I'll end with this story of Iraqi elderly professor. We were colleagues at the International Islamic University in Malaysia. He was professor of law, and he was reared by someone who a local person who drove a double-stroke bike. These are used by people with limited means, usually poor people. And obviously, there was damage to the professor's car, and there was damage to the motor and the motorcycle. So the first thing, he suppressed his anger. Number two, he forgave him. He did not ask this person to compensate him for the damage that happened to the car. Number three, Wallahu yuhibbul muhsinin, he gave him money to fix his motorbike. And that's really a beautiful thing that he did. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept his act and his fulfillment of all these three stages, if you will. Suffice it, inshallah, for this session. We are almost there in terms of reading Surah An-Nisa. We have one more verse separately, 162, and we have 174 and 175. Inshallah, we will read both during the next session. بإذن الله عز وجل. Until then, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.